I just thirst to understand how things work. Like I really, truly love just taking things apart, poking the gears and what's this thing do? And maybe I break it and I got to figure out how to put it back together.
I'm talking to Mike Cline today of Tech Guys Who Get Marketing, and it's exactly what it sounds like. He's a tech guy who totally understands marketing. We're going to talk about technology and how you find the right people to build the technology that you need to grow your business and help it perform at its best level while being able to measure all of the things that are super important and critical to be looking at. And he knows just what those things are. So we talk about all kinds of good stuff in relation to that. We also dive into some questions that I have, which is looking at that big roller coaster that I'm seeing with a lot of business owners and what people can do to generate more leads. And I love Mike's answer to that. A lot of businesses are seeing a massive changes in terms of their media spend and Facebook, Instagram, and all the social media platforms. And it's really interesting to hear his take on that. We're going to talk about the biggest challenges that he's had and the biggest lessons he's learned in business and how this all came to be about. Enjoy. Okay, Mike. So you and I first met at Genius Network, like years ago. It's been a while.
Yeah, years ago. Probably 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, I think so. And I've always looked at you as this incredible genius, which you are, and a little bit intimidated because you know a lot of things that I don't know, and a lot of things that maybe a lot of our listeners don't know. But how did you first get into, or what first piqued your interest about technology and then marketing? Because that's usually people that are into tech have no clue about marketing. I mean, that's just kind of what I've seen. So how did you come to be this guy who's so extremely smart at both of those things?
Well, thank you for the compliment. To answer this question, kind of got to go back to growing up. I grew up in a small town in Indiana, in a family of mechanics. So my father was a marine mechanic, my grandfather an automotive mechanic. It was always about taking things apart, fixing them. And that's just sort of what I grew up with. That was the mindset that I started to develop on the mechanical side. And then my parents were actually divorced, and I had a lot of computer influence, technology influence at sort of a low level on my mom's side. So my grandfather on that side actually was the local high school computer teacher until he retired. And I got to sort of be around a lot of that. And as I got into my teens, I got really fascinated with computers and built my first computer, I think when I was 14, 15.
Oh my gosh.
Going to a computer show, buying parts. This was in let's see, to date myself a little bit, this was the the Pentium 2 processor era is when this, when I was doing that stuff. And anyways, it was the Celeron era. I'm sorry, it was right before the P2 chips. I'm getting distracted here, but roll forward into kind of college, post high school. I always wanted to go to space. That was always my big dream, sitting on the back porch, looking at the stars. And I ended up going down to a college in Florida called Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. I did a degree in engineering physics, which is the kind of juxtaposition of physics, the math and modeling of how the universe works, and engineering, which is how do you actually make things that interact under those laws and premises that function or do something that you're trying to accomplish. So my mindset's always been kind of in that place. Well, I got into working for a little computer company out of Indiana when I would go back over the summers and anytime for holiday breaks, this sort of thing. And while I was there, I got to kind of move through every position in the company. I was the guy answering the phone as help desk. I could walk you through setting up Outlook and Windows 95 with my eyes closed kind of thing. Yeah. literally the memory of like, I have memories of that. And then I would work on the computers inside, that people would bring in break fix kind of stuff. And then they sent me out into the field to fix stuff. So keep in mind, growing up is like that mechanic background and then getting a bit of that engineering and a bit of the physics. I just thirst to understand how things work.
Yeah.
Like, I really, truly love just taking things apart, poking the gears and what's this thing do? And maybe I break it and I got to figure out how to put it back together. And while I was out on site, one summer, right before going back to college with this sort of summer job at the computer company, I fixed a problem for a company that they had been struggling with for about 2 weeks, and I fixed it in like 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And it boiled down to knowing that exact right bolt or screw to turn, right? It's that notion that a guy can be worth $1 million an hour if he knows the exact right thing to do in a situation that nobody else can solve. Little analogy there that it just slipped my mind, but that opened the door to business for me. That company wanted to hire me, and I said, "Well, wait a minute. You hired the company I work for and I love, and you just call them when you need help." I said, No, we want to hire you. So I said, I need to go talk to my service manager. So I went back to back to the office and said, "Hey guys, this is just what happened." I was close with the owner, and it was a small company and everything, and I was like, I could do this work from college. This is the very beginning of remote system administration that was possible. So this is 2002, 2003 kind of era. And they said, "Mike, you can take them as a client. They're not a big client for us. They're actually kind of a small one and a bit of a challenge sometimes.
Yeah.
One condition, you charge them what we charge them." And my mind was blown. I'm like, "What? Like, they won't go for that." I was like, you're kidding me. Like, and this was like offhanded remark from them. And I'm like, "You guys are paying me $12 an hour. Our external bill rate is $90 an hour. You're going to tell me as a college kid, I have to go back here and tell this, the owner of this company, that it's $90 an hour." And they're like, "Yep, that's it. Do you want him as a client?" Okay. I remember pulling out my like newly purchased Sprint PCS flip phone, with a 100-minute plan on it. And I called back the owner of the company and I'm like, "All right, so I can be available up to like 10 hours during the week. I'm going back to college, but here's the kind of work I could do." And there was a lot of neat opportunity in that era of, they had 3 different offices around the country. They weren't all properly digitally linked. They were using like an old Citrix NT4 setup.
Yeah.
If that makes sense to any of the highly technical listeners.
Yeah.
But it was just a neat time in the marketplace. And I tell her all this, and I said, "It'll be the same as what you've been paying." I couldn't say out of my mouth the value that was at play here. In my mind, I'm still getting paid my $12 an hour. It might have been $14 an hour. I can't remember.
Did you feel like you were doing something wrong if you had asked, like, "Oh, that's not fair," or just?
Oh yeah. And I remember I said, "Same as you've been paying, and I could start next week." And she's like, "Perfect. I'll email you over everything now."
Wow.
And I hung up. Snapped my little Sprint PCS flip phone shut, and I sat there and I was like, "What did I just do? This is insane. I am making more per hour than my parents."
Yeah.
Like, is this good? Is this bad? Like, all of this emotion inside of me, because I didn't totally understand value exchange completely yet.
Yeah.
Like, this was the start of it. So, to get to your question of like the tech and the marketing side, I've always thirsted on the mechanical side and taking things apart. How do they work? So this gig that I had, this one client of mine, I worked for them through the rest of college, my 10 hours a week, if that. I'm getting checks, like $400, $500, $600 checks.
Yeah.
And I'm working out of my apartment in college, and my friends are waiting tables, and they're like, "What the hell are you doing?" Like, you sit in your apartment and you're making money. You're making more than us. Like, what are you selling drugs? What are you doing? I mean, nobody was doing this stuff at that time at any kind of scale. So fast forward a little bit, I got bitten by the business bug.
Yeah.
So I graduate college. My friends are getting degrees to go work for NASA or JPL, and that was the vision. And I was like, I gotta figure out this business thing. Like, this is, I don't want to go work as a junior engineer on the door latch of the shuttle for the next 5 years,
right,
which is you would end up doing. If you were lucky, you got to do that.
Yeah.
So I kind of chased it down the rabbit hole a little bit. Three of my other friends wanted to get into business as well. They saw what I was doing. Okay, let's make a go at this. Started dabbling in this idea of an engineering think tank company. This is me with no business idea, right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't have to acquire new clients yet. I knew nothing about nothing, just enough to be dangerous and make a mess. And so fast forward a little bit more, start doing this venture with some friends. That lasts about 6 months. And then the company that I've been working, I had this, this sweet deal with, they ended up selling to a bigger company. So they didn't need me anymore. It was like, all right, Mike the contractor now all of a sudden doesn't have any work.
Right.
And I had at this time moved from Florida out to Arizona with my friends. And I had started to spend the money that I had saved. And then I was down into my credit card a little bit.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the oh shit moment. Like I was trying to get new clients, but I didn't know how to do it.
Right.
So it was out of raw necessity that led me down this path. And in 2004, the end of 2004 is when I stumbled into the digital marketing world by way of a client that had shown up. And that just like opened the door. I initially didn't understand what they were doing. It's like, oh, this online sales letter. I'm like, this web page looks horrible. What is this? This is garbage. And I'm like, Mike, don't touch this stuff. Do just what we tell you to, and then come out to this event and we're going to explain it to you. So I did just that, came out, went to a digital marketing event back in, I think it would have been like January of like 05 is probably when I went to that first one.
Yeah.
Somewhere around that time period. And the guy up on stage said, what I'm about to tell you today, most tech people out there are going to say is wrong. The reason I'm not wrong is follow the money. And I remember hearing that and I was instantly humbled.
Yeah.
I was like, I know enough science to get it, but I had this preconceived notion of what things were supposed to look like and be like. They're not supposed to look like a newspaper article that looks ugly in the digital format.
Right.
But I instantly got hooked on analytics.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness, there's tools that allow us to measure every single action. And then there's these things like traffic and where do you put the traffic, and you can convert the traffic to a lead and then the lead to a sale and then a recurring sale. And it's just a big math equation with a lot of this art that is copy and emotion and human psychology. And so I started to realize that the magic is in the combination of the science, the tech, and the art, which is the marketing. And I just grabbed a hold of that with both hands and I rolled forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. I love that. And it's like I'm going back in time with you, remembering all of those same things. And now it's like you hear of new things every month. There's like some new strategy. It's like it's so incredibly fast how things are changing. So a big question I have.
Problem too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll add to this too. That that's a bit of the problem is that people get hung up on tactics instead of strategy. It's like there's a confusion that happens here when all these shiny objects start to appear.
Yeah.
And we're splintering the traffic sources. The digital traffic sources now where people are hanging out that you can, market or advertise in any way, shape, or form is just getting bigger, wider, more complicated to kind of run these math equations. And it confuses a lot of people because it's easy to get distracted by the shiny object.
Oh, it's so true. And if you're not super skilled in that area, which my advice would be to at least have some sort of a clue so that you know the right people to have on your team to help you with all that. But it can be, it's overwhelming. I know. I love, some people will say, oh, you're a tech geek, but this is coming from somebody who doesn't know technology at all. I'm like, no, I'm really not. I just love it and appreciate it. I don't know how it works. I couldn't put it together myself, but I love geeking out on a good CRM and all the things that I can do with it. And then telling my team, hey, let's do these things with it. Same thing when it comes to, I love marketing, love, ads and measuring and looking at, what's working, what's not working. It's like this constant puzzle. And today, even, just a difference from 2 years ago it's like, holy crap, I have to be looking at this on a daily basis, to see what's working, what's not working. Because I feel like 2 years ago, what might have been working for months and months and months, it's not like that today. So
Yep.
yeah. So, one question I have is in terms of, looking for those people that know technology. I mean, if you are a small business owner and you're looking to hire that expert on your team, if you're in that place, I think that you can easily, you kind of feel like you're at this disposal of somebody who calls themselves an expert, and all you have to go by is what they've told you and a maybe real or not real case study that they have or testimonial. You just don't know. And what happens is I've seen so many people waste thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars building an app or, building technology that somebody has told them, this is going to work for you. This is going to be amazing. And at the end of it, they're like, okay, I spent all this money. It's not at all what I needed, not what I wanted, nothing effective here. How does somebody avoid that? How do they actually find that right person? What's the due diligence they have to do?
So the question is complicated. There's a bunch of pieces to it. I would say this particular question starts with understanding yourself first.
Yeah.
So understand your own Kolbe profile and what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Like how much of a quick start, if you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, how much of a quick start are you? How much of a follow through are you? Are you actually existing? Are you functioning inside your current natural operating system, or has some kind of event in your life pushed you outside of your natural operating system, your natural conation, that's causing you to pursue what you're trying to pursue? Now,
Right.
This might seem a little abstract, but it's critical because you will attract and hire the wrong people if you don't understand yourself first.
Yeah.
So like Kolbe, Strength Finders, the Fascination Advantage Profile
All
stuff,
fantastic.
the Wealth Dynamic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, understand yourself first and foremost. And then you can take the question of what am I building? Okay, who do I need to build this right? And do I actually need an executive level mind to engineer the thing? Or is it a prototype and it's not complicated and a junior level person will do? And you can break that down into like junior skill, senior skill, or like executive level skill. And the executive level skill, like you've probably heard the statement, write the sales letter first, right? Before building the product.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to emphasize that as well, is that somebody might have a wonderful idea, but if you don't take the time as a business executive to say, is it actually going to work? Have we fleshed the whole thing out first before we go pour $100,000 or $250,000 into something that we want to build? Like that's the key thing. That's just critically important. So that can come with the executive mindset, I guess you can say. It's like, who's the target market? Are we competitive in the market? Is there a unique selling proposition to it? Like run the gambit on the marketing analysis
right
before you start. And honestly, write the sales letter. Like really write that sales copy.
Yeah.
Because when you have that done, your development team knows what they're building. Like it has to do these things that have been clearly articulated, not in a scope of work, but actually in a sales, kind of a logical sales process.
See, I'm so glad you're bringing this up because I've seen this. And even, Eric, my business partner, years ago when we were building an app, especially being new at it, it was like an ever evolving sales letter. So it's such a good point. Like when you say this is what it needs to look like, because what happens is people get excited along the way and then start adding all of these different features and things that it should be. And then it's like, it's just really complicates things.
Yeah. And you drink your own Kool-Aid. Like drinking your own Kool-Aid is one of the things you got to be super careful of in any circumstance. And especially when you're building something new, because as entrepreneurs, there's kind of that emotional cycle that we go through. It's part of what drives us to create more. And drinking your own Kool-Aid is a confidence booster.
Yeah.
But it gets in your way.
Totally.
Because all of a sudden, everybody around you says, this is the best thing ever. Well, that's not the feedback you want.
Right.
You really honestly want the feedback that's criticizing it. And you only want the feedback from the check writers. So,
Yeah.
they're the ones that will guide the process. So I would say in building anything, get to a minimum viable product, get it to market based upon a real sales marketing strategy that's thought through first, see how it does. And then you can even pull back, kind of put it back into development because you've tested the theory.
Mm-hmm.
If it starts falling off the shelf, okay, you're onto something. But if it's like a double sale where you got to convince the person they need the thing before you convince them that yours is the right version of the thing that they just got convinced they needed.
Yeah. So, one of the biggest roller coasters I'm seeing with business owners, especially in the last 2 years and today, is those I'm talking about, service-based area where you have high ticket items, and maybe it is even, whether it's coaching or, big, a really expensive online digital course, things like that. But especially in the service-based areas where you're charging a high amount for what you're offering. And, a couple of years ago with digital marketing, it was a lot easier and less expensive than it is today. And so the struggle that I'm seeing businesses have, and it's like in every conversation. I mean, I was just at Genius Network this past week, and that's what people are talking about. It's not as easy, and I'm struggling. I need to find more leads and this. Like, yeah. So it's one of the things that I am so curious and love to talk about, because I want to hear how, is this something that you have been challenged with? Is it something how do you think about this? What are things that you have done in your business to get more qualified leads?
As competition goes up, not just in the digital space of other advertisers, but, we're having the boom of entrepreneurialism globally, which is awesome.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it's just more competition. We're building stuff faster, better, more efficient, et cetera. So some of the key things that fall out of that is that it's never been more expensive for the first sale, which makes it cheaper for subsequent sales.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to really care about the lifetime account value of everybody you bring through whatever process you have is.
Yeah.
So that means looking really carefully at your own business. And there's a process we take people through. Actually, best way to even explain this or start this. So we have a service offering that is a chief marketing technologist,
okay,
right? A CMT. So the CMT is a newly recognized, I say newly recognized, last 4 or 5 years, executive level position in the corporate space.
Right.
And what this role is it sits between the technology departments and the marketing departments, but it has its own little team, right? So it has its own little project manager, it has its own little tech and marketing team. And the role of this group is it's got sort of 4 components to it. It's part technology leader, part strategist, part creative director, and most importantly, part educator.
Mm-hmm.
So it wears these kind of 4 hats as it interfaces with the rest of the team itself. And we have taken that position and that model, and we offer this as a service. And what we do in our service here is we actually start with what are the objectives and the key results for the company, right? So what are the OKRs? So if you've ever heard of John Doerr's work, the OKR stuff, measure what matters.
Yes.
This is what Google does, Intel does. Like, it's critical. It's absolutely critical to have that level of strategic thinking. So when you can nail down the OKRs, then we step people into a process called an immersion sequence. And the immersion sequence is kind of like a funnel, only it's not a funnel based upon conversion per se. It's more about the depth of relationship that you're building with people. Like, map out the relationship depth. When you go from new customer to a customer you totally love that could be there with you for life. And when you map that out, if you find that, hey, I don't actually offer enough, okay, maybe we need to invent some new products or services or incorporate affiliate products or services.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's all about the relationship and the influence that one has, and it's becoming more like that, than ever before. So the immersion sequence is kind of that 30,000 foot view. What are the different core items that move somebody through the depth of relationship? And then we build out a marketing map, which is the granular, detailed view of, great, here's the landing page. And on the landing page, there's this video that's split test here, and it's an opt-in form, and it gathers name and email. And then here's what happens after that. And okay, here's like all the little, it's like a flow chart,
right.
Giant, massive flow chart
yes.
with as much data and detail, all the remarketing pixels, when they're added, when they're removed.
Yeah.
Because when you map it out, you can see it.
Yeah.
And you can see it, you can like feel your way through it as the customer would. And back in the day, I would actually print all of the pages out too and put them on the wall, in sort of this like flow, because you can then read it and be like, all right, if somebody's experiencing this automated voice I put out there, which is a web page, a brochure, anything, all of this stuff is like your automated, sales team. That's where we really push people to start. I say push people to start, but like you start analyzing this, you can find out where the disconnect is and where you're losing those leads. We talk about traffic. There's lots and lots of places to go get new traffic from, and that's not slowing down, whether that's video ads off Facebook, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram, whether all the other native ad networks that are out there. I mean, it's just gotten so incredibly splintered.
Yeah.
But how you talk to them, how you bring them in, those are the things that really deeply matter. And you just kind of mathematically track it all the way through and keep optimizing.
Yeah. There's so many things I love about what you said. Definitely the measuring. And I think what's so great, and this, and you build this for clients, is measuring all of that. And we've become completely obsessed with every single part. Like you said, if you're looking at that whole, funnel that they're going through, and it's actually really fun. You're just like, okay, especially when you split test, you're like, interesting. I totally thought more people would have converted off of that, and sometimes it surprises you, but it's so fun. And then what's also really cool is you can clearly see the holes in your process. And we even do that down to, the engagement of clients during the process of working with us. And then what happens after, and are they coming back? Which leads me to what you said earlier is the lifelong value. And I think so many people, even though it seems obvious, really overlook that. And they go, okay, how much am I spending to get the customer, to get this first sale? Instead of looking at, well, are they coming back and are they doing more business with you? Look at that number instead, and then look at what you invested. And the relationship part is so important because people can get so excited in the beginning with that first sale, with that first, okay, cool, we're working together. And then I think businesses have that period where they just go, okay, great, we've got them. And then they just kind of, that whole relationship building just falls. And so they're just kind of passed off and the whole enthusiasm dies. So keeping that relationship and deepening it and really, learning from them too. What more can we offer? What more are they asking for? Because they will ask you. If they really love working with you, they will ask you for more. And if you don't have that service, like you said, affiliates, you have people that you can, work with or partner with to offer that to them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then it further monetizes that data. So in like the pure digital marketing world, you can simplify it all the way down to, I'm spending X dollars per lead into a system. Do I get that much back and how much more, regardless of what I sell them? My stuff, other people's stuff. In fact, maybe I want to sell them only other people's stuff because I don't have any cost of delivery and my entire business complexity drops. So I remember back in the mid to late 2000s, people were running like direct arbitrage off Google ads into affiliate products with massive spread. And I'm like, this is absurd and it can't possibly last. And of course it didn't. Competition came in. But I got two things on what you just said there. So we're a tech and marketing firm, and the majority of our clients come from referrals because it is the cheapest marketing source that you are going to ever find. Yeah. So keep costs low, do a good job, ask for referrals, and build out those referral networks as well. Whether or not you give a kickback, to clients in some way, shape, or form, which, by the way, isn't always a good strategy. You got to really think through the marketing response of it. We have a campaign right now that's actually dealing with that we're working on with a client that deals in agriculture and with farmers. And the idea of incentivizing a farmer for a referral of another farmer, isn't like it doesn't hit right. That's not the kind of way that the referral could be incentivized in a small community.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to like, if you want to do incentivize referrals, you got to think about it a little differently. But these are the things that we kind of end up in. And the other thing I wanted to say is service level offerings and that lifetime account value. For a long time, like when I started this tech company, there was a few things that I was really passionate about. I didn't like that the company I previously worked for had use it or lose it retainers. I was like, why do that? Why don't just do hourly retainers and they don't expire and you're giving more value to the customer.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we rolled down that rabbit hole for years, and all of a sudden you have liability that stacks up.
Yeah.
You have clients that go AWOL. I'm like, wait a minute, I guess that doesn't work completely. And in that same learning curve, if we are a reactive agency, this is what we found out. We've made a big change over the last year around this. We've traditionally been reactive, meaning somebody has a problem and they come to us, right? And most of our referrals or our name being out there, people came to us when the pain was high enough.
Yeah.
So we were reactively solving people's problems, and then we made their pain go away. And they're like, "Great, now they're good. Okay, I'm off and running." And now they're back to their old ways. And maybe we'll still be involved with them, but we didn't make a fundamental change in the company that prevented the problem from occurring again.
Yeah.
And it took us quite a while to really start to recognize this. And if it was a good client, we didn't have that problem. They understood while we were your recovery relationship for maybe the last tech team that didn't work or tech and marketing team. Well, I'm off on a little tangent. I guess here's the key piece of this that has come up. We've started to move in a direction, the CMT direction, as I mentioned earlier, so that we're having a conversation at the executive level of the company.
Yeah.
So that we can have the deepest possible impact. Because as time has gone on, all these additional distractions, when people come to us, the problems have gotten more and more compounded. He's like, react to my problem, Mike. Like, we need this help. And it's like, wow, you've made a bigger mess. Time goes on. People are making bigger and bigger messes because there's not enough fundamental strategy at that executive level to keep it from happening. So we found that in our business, we've had to go that direction to actually serve clients better. So we've had to up the rates, up the engagement style, and just step into an executive level of playing instead of being just the front line and kind of managerial level of service provider.
Right. So you're solving the problem, but you're also maintaining it so that this doesn't happen again, and actually helping to rebuild a foundation as well.
Yeah, and we try to have this conversation more on the front end now.
Yeah.
And suss people out. Like, you got to be willing to really want to grow something if you're a good long-term fit for us.
Yeah.
So in our process, we're starting to weed people out. Like, oh, you just want somebody that'll give you a quick fix, get your next hit, and then you're going to go off and make a bunch of goofy decisions again because you're not really interested in solving this and growing it. Even though you say you are, you're kind of addicted to the drama you created for yourself.
Oh, yes. That happens a ton. Yeah. So, well, it's not, I was going to ask you, what was one of the most important things that you have learned in this past year with your business? It sounds like that was one.
Yeah. Being more, I think, just really teaching the team and being part of developing the process of kind of putting our foot down a little harder.
Yeah.
To our clients. It's like, we're not going to do what you want us to do because we know this thing's going to run it off the cliff.
Yeah.
This is the way it needs done, or we shouldn't be involved to do it. That's been really, really valuable.
Yeah. And that would just instill so much trust. And I think sometimes people are scared in that first, upfront conversation to say these things. They don't want to seem too pushy or, but actually at the end of the day, I mean, people want to work with somebody where they feel taken care of and know, hey, this isn't my area of expertise. To know that I have you on demand when I need it, such a good feeling.
Yeah, people got to get to that place of trust, though. And in our space, this kind of tech and marketing service business, I used the term earlier, but we are the recovery relationship for a lot of people who have gone through, and this is not to vilify or talk down on, say, Upwork, but you can go on Upwork and get any level of skilled person that you want. You can get high end, you can get low end, and a lot of people shop for tech or marketing services based on price.
Yeah.
Like tech and marketing, you need to, here's a big thing I try to teach people, like tech and marketing, it's a combined sort of force these days. And that's the reason of this whole CMT evolution we've seen in the corporate space, is because technology is the touch point for your customers, and touch points are a marketing function.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all tech is now marketing. And you got to be able to think of the tech and marketing combo as a profit or revenue generating component to the company, not an expense center. So if I was to ask a customer or a prospect we're talking to, like, okay, so, if we 10x the marketing budget next month, how does that sound? Oh, we can't afford to spend that. We got to spend less. Like, okay, you don't get it. Like, you're not connecting the value of that expense with what it does to the company. So we have a fundamental problem here.
Right.
And a lot of times people just don't have that data tracked. They just don't know it. They're not taking the time to know it. So then that becomes kind of a fear reaction.
So speaking of that, what are some of the things, what are the most important, KPIs? What are the most important things that business owners should be measuring in their business and looking at?
Every business is different, right? From a raw marketing standpoint, the number that we try to help clients understand is, what is the acceptable cost per sale? So what are you comfortable with spending to acquire a new customer? Because on average, a new customer generates X revenue, and it's a high priced product. And there's a prospect that hasn't started working with us yet, but that acceptable cost per sale is north of $5,000. Like, cool.
Yeah.
We can work with that. Like, gives a lot of buffer room for how elaborate you get with your targeting and all the other components that go into it. And you might need a salesperson involved, right? Like,
yeah.
Can we close something at the level of this product service without a salesperson? Yeah, probably not if the acceptable CPS is at $5,000. But that's the starting point to start to reverse engineer feeding a business.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So much good stuff.
And obviously there's a lot of KPIs on the production side too. What's your lifetime account value?
Right.
That actually is what indicate or influences your acceptable cost per sale. So there's a bunch of metrics to get to that acceptable cost per sale that you could then tell a marketing firm to, kind of go to town on.
Yeah. So in kind of wrapping up here, what's the biggest challenge that you have had in your business, and how have you overcome it in, say, the last couple of years?
Biggest challenge for me has, I think with most companies, it's a similar challenge, and it's the people part. It's like, I'm growing up as a mechanic. It's like, it's a machine, and it does this and it does this. But, just over the last 5 years, the people skills and learning more about myself and the amount of personal development I've done, all that has made like the biggest impact on how to hire better, how to really lead people appropriately. And there's so much around the leadership and soft skills. That's been like
that's a challenge, isn't it? That is a challenge. That's like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You think at the beginning, oh yeah, I got this. But once you start intermingling with different personalities and all that, being a leader is quite challenging.
Yeah. And for me, the problems are really easy when everything's in duress and there's one singular goal. It's like going into battle, no problem. Can lead that stuff all day long, but it's during peacetime and how you structure things, all the normal processes. And
yeah, totally. So true. Well, I'm so grateful that we got to connect and talk. There's so many great golden nuggets. And it was so great seeing your face again. I hope I get to see you soon in person.
Super fun to connect.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts? Any big takeaway you wanna leave with me personally? Can be
I guess here's a question. What's going on in your tech and marketing world?
So, the last couple of years have been I think we always utilized tech, but the last couple of years we upped our game in so many ways. That's why I was saying I'm like obsessed. As soon as you see what's possible and what you can learn from technology, what you can measure, um, it's just been awesome. And our team has just been obsessed with it as well, in terms of just everything, how you can connect all of the dots. And we've seen some holes in different processes, even down to like what I was talking about earlier, with the whole customer journey with us, and learning from every single person, what can we do at these different touch points, and actually having, a to-do list at all of the different stages so that nobody forgets to, show the love and engage and deepen that connection and ask for referrals and ask for repeat business, those types of things. And, with marketing, marketing's an interesting monster for me. I love it so much. And I have days where I'm just like, man, I am full of such good ideas. And then the next day where I'm just like, I feel stuck. It's crazy. And I mean, I feel like that's just like, being a business owner, entrepreneur in general. It's like, it's that whole, the gaping void picture, the fuck.
The journey.
Oh yeah. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, you're super stoked. You're super like, what the hell? But it's awesome. It's so much fun. And just learning, you're just constantly learning. What I've really realized is I think you can totally get down and frustrated at sometimes when you feel like something that was working for you isn't working. But then once you've gone through that enough times, you realize that that's just an opportunity to try and test something new, which you constantly have to be doing. So yeah, I think that's what's going on in our world. I probably overwhelm myself because I get so excited about the different things that we can use in our business. And, some people are like, especially like my business partner, he'll be like, you are just like, I'm just like idea soup all the time, adding more ideas. Like, I definitely need that list of, okay, not today. This is the later idea list. But I get excited about so many things. And, my team will be like, yeah, that's the later list. Let's focus on this now. Yeah. And I'm a fact finder too. So I'm like, research, I want to use this, I want to use that. And then Eric's the quick start. So somehow we balance each other out. But yeah, that's what's going on. Yeah.
I mean, it's like some people are better suited to partnerships.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
It's like I found for myself, like I'm a bit of a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I really like new projects. So I have created subsequent companies and other niches and, some of them partnerships. And entrepreneurialism is a fascinating ride.
It really is,
to say the least.
Yeah. It's fun. You are just constantly learning every day. So you are at, if people want to find more information about you and potentially work with you, where can we find you?
techguyswhogetmarketing.com. It's a mouthful. We have the shortened TGWGM domain as well, but the long version is a little more sticky. techguyswhogetmarketing.com. And I'm just Mike at, if somebody wanted to actually email me.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. I love it. I really love the, it's CMT. So it's like a CMT for hire, basically, or like.
Yeah. In fact, like, as you were talking there about your process, it could be, we have some of these videos online, and you know what I'll do is I'll give you a link to it too. So maybe you want to add the link to this particular video. We need to redo them though.
Okay.
We kind of did our first pass to prove out, we MVP'd the thing, and found it's really working. And then, of course, when things are working, you're like, I don't know, don't go back and improve those things.
Yeah.
But they need improved. And in particular of just the description, it's like an 11-minute video that goes through the CMT process, the OKRs, the immersion sequence, marketing maps, all this stuff, marketing calendars. There's like 4 core pieces to the way that we look at this on the marketing side. And then there's some pieces on the tech side too. But it would be neat to do a full map and lay out, and this could actually be fun to do with you and Eric, would be to go through an immersion sequence of your business in the way we do it, and just use that as another educational example to show people.
Totally.
a lot of times these things get very complicated fast.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time, most of all of our stuff is, very private for customers. So we'll just put you guys on display.
Yeah, perfect. Get the deep. No, I mean, it's cool. That's how people, people appreciate that actually. Show them the inside stuff. That's what we're trying to do here. I love that idea. Send me the link for sure.
I will send you that. And then I'll actually lay that in an email to you as well.
Awesome.
Because it would be neat to go through that process. I've done a number of videos like that in the past, both with like Joe at GN and stuff like that. But it feels like this is the most pertinent conversation to be having with people, because there's so much tactical shiny object stuff, and everything about this is strategy meets tactic in a very controlled, measured way. Yeah.
Love it. All good stuff. All right, Mike. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing. This is awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.